Hi, today we're going to do a screenings assessment for wheat. It doesn't really matter whether it's wheat or any of the other cereals, as they basically all follow the same process, except that we have a slightly different screen size. So firstly, what we've got here is we have a wheat screen, which is a 2mm slot width, and you'll notice also that it's certified as per all of the equipment that we're using for the assessment. So the wheat screen is in two parts. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to remove. So there's the 2mm slots, and there we have the catch pan. So if we were doing this using a shaking device as per, say, an agitator or any other type of shaking device, we firstly put it on the machine, making sure that it is shaking in the direction of the slots, which is generally marked by a mark on it. But we're going to do it manually. So to do the manual process, it's basically the same thing, 40 shakes in the direction of the slots. So we've got our half litre, which we obtained before doing the test weight assessment. We just dump that straight onto the screen, and then we shake it 40 times. So hand shaking is out and back. That's one shake. Each one should take 1 second. So out and back 40 times, basically the length of your arms. It's all in the one plane. It's not in a rotating basis. So what you can generally do is just put it on a surface like this, as long as you're prepared to put up a few scratches, out, back, etc. If it's on the agitator or a shaking device, then as I said, it's shaking in the direction of the slots, but the shaking action is like that. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and again it's 40 shakes. So that should take roughly 68 seconds. So as per all of your equipment, as I mentioned before, not only does the screen need to be certified, but you also need to certify that shaking device to make sure that it is shaking correctly, because there's a certain angle and there's a certain speed of that shake as well. So once we've finished the 40 shakes, we take the sieve off the machine and we separate the two parts. So down below we have what we call the screenings, and you'll see in there that there's a range of material. It could be small grains, it could be broken grains of the commodity that you're assessing, or it could be a range of other contaminants. So you need to check out all of those contaminants to make sure that there's nothing in there that's in excess of the limits that's in the standards. Once we've done that, we then put our half litre measure or whatever it is that you've got onto the balance, pour the screenings in there, and then we do the calculation of the weight of that screenings material as a percentage of the weight of the entire half litre material, which we obtained before from the test weight, and that gives us our screenings percentage. On the top of the grain, you will notice that there's a lot of lightweight material here. So you can see that there's chaff and what we call backbone, etc. For wheat and some of the other cereal commodities, that is what we call unmillable material above the sieve. So we need to pull that material out and weigh that material on our balance. If there is potentially enough there, that will put that sample outside of the tolerance for the applicable grade. But generally it needs to be a pretty dirty sample with a lot of that material to, in essence, be bothered to pull that out. We then do the assessment for the defects and the contaminants in that half litre sample. So rather than look in the grain here for those defects and contaminants that sit above the sieve, what I prefer to do is to tip the sieve over and tip all of the grain out, and you'll notice there that there are some grains still stuck in there. we need to remove those grains, and we do that by using plastic from this side only. We don't use metal, and we don't push it in from the other side, which will damage the sieve. So we push that down through until it's basically clean. Then we've got our half-litre sample here from above the sieve, and we go through that sample, moving the grains around, looking for the contaminants as per the tolerances in the standards, and also for the various defects that may be listed in the standards. So for wheat, and in fact for all of the cereals, you generally, what we say is 30 to 60 seconds, look for the various defects. If you can't find anything there that's above the tolerance, then we let it go and classify it as per the standards. But if you do find a defect in that grain within that period, you need to then assess the grain as per the standards chart using what we call a 300 grain tray. So some defects are as per the entire half-litre sample, i.e. the grain above the sieve and below the sieve, so you need to look in both the screenings and above based on the entire half-litre, but many of the defects are based on a 300 grain sample. So what we do there is we grab a little bit of grain from the different areas around the half-litre material that's retained above the sieve, because again we need to get a representative sample of that material. We then flip it from side to side and make sure that all of the slots are filled, and once they're all filled, then we shake off the excess. There may be the odd grain here that where you find 2 in the one slot. We need to just gently remove those and maybe adding a couple more grains where there's a couple of empty ones. But that will take a few seconds to do, but that gives us our 300 grains. We then get the cover for that, put the cover on, turn it over, give it a quick tap to make sure that we can knock all of those grains out of those slots, and there we have basically 3 by 100 grains. We can then go through those grains, pull out the various defects that we're looking for, and we can then show whoever it is, these are the defects that we've identified in that particular sample. And that's how we do the screenings and the contaminant and defect assessment for wheat. So thank you very much.